This series is made possible by Honda South Africa, Liat, Insta360 and Cameras. During the last couple of years, we have had the good fortune of riding through some truly beautiful and challenging places. Southern Africa has been good to us. And most of our adventures have been on the rougher side, the kind of trips that you don't just take any rider on. So we felt that it's now the perfect time to slow things down and invite all our friends and followers for a social ride, an adventure tour with a difference. Time to take the scenic sidetracks of this amazing country and share that sense of adventure with everyone from Gauteng to the Western Cape. Here's something that all of you might relate to. You want to go somewhere, you don't know where to start. What do I do? How do I plan? Firstly, old school mapping. It starts here. Take out a paper map. Find out where you want to go. Firstly, what have you seen? What do you want to see again? What are you wondering about?
Where have you been? Where haven't you been?
What does the road conditions look like? Is it full-on hectic gravel? Is it technical? Is it easy gravel? Is it just a tar road? Is it open freeway? That'll determine distances, average speeds, average kilometers traveled. But that whole concept gets life looking at a proper open map, not a book, not an atlas, a proper open wide map. Then you go digital. First go to Google Maps. Block day to day. You know now, because of the paper map, you know what kind of routes you're going to take. And then you decide where you want to go, what distance you'll be able to travel, where you're going to stay. I mean, if you're doing camping, a little bit of a secret, yeah. Campsites ZA, the official camp map of Sleepsaal. I use this if I want to go and look for a camping spot. This is nice to have. It's the entire country camping sites, hundreds and hundreds of them. If we don't do camping, we just do ordinary stay over in a lodge or a whatever.
Which is not something that we do often, right?
We don't do lodging often. I mean, this in the area we're looking at, Western Cape, there's 7,900 there and almost 400 options there and almost 4,000 options there. And these are all guest houses and hotels and the like. So you can, it's very easy to book. So do that. Find a cheap one. You don't have to go expensive. How do I get there? How will I travel there? Now you've gone onto Google, you figured it out, and now you would like to do some more detail. What we do is we go to Basecamp. This is just a very easy setting for Basecamp. These are the tracks that we have ridden before. What happens is you can always transfer everything from Basecamp directly to your GPS if you're using a Garmin GPS, or you can save it as a GPX file and export it to your laptop or computer, and then you can share it with anyone else in a GPX format. Just a quick hint, if you want to transfer maps from Basecamp to your Garmin, do not do a route. You have a track option and a route option. You can calculate your road for your route for the day as a route or a track. If you do it as a route, it will recalculate it on your system, on your Garmin. That's unfortunately the way it works. Don't ask me why, ask the people from Garmin and Basecamp. And so always export a track from Basecamp as a track, and then when it's on your Garmin, you switch it on. It says, would you like to import this? Yes. And then you click on it and you say, turn this into a route. And what happens when it's a route is you can actually see how long it's going to take you to the next turn, how many minutes is going to be to this spot coming up next, where a track doesn't do that. You just follow a track.
What sort of distance would you say traveling per day, taking into account conditions, gravel, tar, all of that sort of stuff? What sort of guidelines? And then secondly, on top of that, fuel stops. Yeah, because I think fuel stops is something, you know, fuel anxiety or range anxiety is a thing. And not everybody's bikes take the same amount of fuel and can do the same sort of distances. So how do you normally guide that?
Let's do the fuel first. Plan every 200 Ks, plan a fuel stop. Because at some stage someone's going to have to backtrack or get lost. And then if they happen to do 250 Ks, that stint, you're still fine with fuel. Distance-wise, we find, because we're doing filming, that nothing more than 400 kilometers a day is easier for us filming. If you really plan on riding hard, never ride 700 Ks a day. 600, that's fine. That's the longest you can do, and without exhausting yourself. There are some of you really strong guys with iron butts that like doing 2,000 Ks in 24 hours.
Yeah.
But we prefer shorter distances, more exciting, with lots of gravel in them. We're doing this because something in us wants to ride adventure bike, and that isn't always a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So Pierre, getting your bike ready for a trip is also fairly important, right?
Yes.
So maybe the first thing that you should remember is to actually
Service your bike.
service your bike.
Firstly, make sure it's in a proper mechanical condition.
We are doing a trip now that's over 3,500 kilometers
yeah.
in total. So you have to take into account
Chain.
chain.
What's the condition with chain and sprockets? If
Yeah.
they tend to look like the sprockets are slightly worn out on one side, change them.
Yeah.
Change them.
Brake pads on a trip like this, very important.
Make sure you can do 3,500 kilometers front and rear on brakes.
Yeah, because the worst case scenario, you have to replace brakes on the trip.
Last thing you want to
Which
do.
is a bit of a mission.
Yes.
Okay,
The tyre debate.
the tire debate.
I'm telling you what, put on proper tyres. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to say which tyres. You know how you ride. If you ride like an old lady, then you can get away with most any tyre. But if you ride a bike like you stole it, or maybe you did steal it, you never know, then put proper tyres on it for the conditions and the application you intend to use it for.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a controversial question.
Ah, here you are. Tyre question.
Yeah. So what is important to you personally when you decide what tire to use? And I know already what you're going to say.
The cleavage of the sales lady.
The sidewall of a tire is something not a lot of people think about.
Oh, sidewall
Until
is
it's too late.
Sidewall is everything. I've ridden 40 kilometers in 38 degrees Celsius with a totally blown out tube on a rear tire, but the proper carcass, the proper sidewall gives you that chance to get out of jail for free for 40 Ks, to get to a spot where you can change a tire. Yeah,
ergonomics is important.
And what happens there is where's the gear lever? Where's the brake lever? Your foot. Is the riding position conducive to off-road this is road riding, that's off-road riding. Is the handlebars conducive to that? And remember, your luggage is also always determined by where you're going and how you are you sleeping over in guest houses? This trip we're doing now is going to be guest houses. They're not
first for us.
It's not going to be a lot of camping. There's zero camping actually. So that's why I have a tail pack for my tools, which is still empty now.
Yeah.
And a little handlebar bag. And remember, there's a lot of personal stuff you carry as well in your backpack.
Yeah.
A nice broad-rimmed hat for the African sun that'll kill you this time of the year. Some lip balm, a buff, a spare hydration, actual hydration pack. So the Africa Twin also comes with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, depending on your choice of device. The screen has a general home screen. You'll notice that there are two different screens on the Africa Twin. Everyone always goes, why are there two? One is analog and one is digital. Yes, because when you use the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, then you can't see the speed you're traveling at or whether your fuel tank is full or not. So then you need another dial. That's why there's an analog dial with warning lights at the bottom.
At the top, the digital. In this case, I am using an app for the strip called Gaia GPS. It's going to take us on the routes. So it's also a navigation app, a turn-by-turn navigation app. I see the Footpeg tour group is rather busy. If you see there, I'll be using this as my mode of navigation for the tour, for the entire Sidetracked event, which we're doing in the Cedarburg, and because there is no GPS on this, so I'll be doing Android. My biggest gripe with the Africa Twin, and yes, I have gripes with it, is the fact that this is an over-complicated 530 switch electronic system. I cannot for the life of me understand why they made it so difficult for the average guy to figure out. It's going to take you 3 to 6 months owning this bike to figure it out. You eventually will. Let me quickly give you a friendly tip, a little bit of advice to make it easier. Let's talk about all these settings, these rider settings. You have tour, urban, gravel, and off-road, and they all have different settings. They have different modes, they have different engine power, different braking, different traction, different wheelie control angles, different blah, 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 ABS, blah, 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 with 7 versions of each. Quick and easy one. There are 2 user settings, 2, user 1 and user 2, that you can set to your liking. Do that. Don't go to the others. Do that. First setting, user number 1 would usually be the one getting out of the house, which would be on paved tar roads. So do one for that. And this user setting 2 would probably be one that when you reach the gravel, you're going to use that. Right? Let me quickly show you. Easy way to set it up. It's going to change your life. There is a toggle right to the left, on the left side of the handlebar, on the cluster, before you get to the bright switch. Pull that toggle and it will say rider information. Page down to settings. Function, enter. User modes, enter. User mode 1, enter. Right, now we'll set your user mode 1. User mode 1 power. You'll notice that it's on 1 at this stage. The blue color of the dash refers to the amount of interference the computer has in the actual action. So, if you have power on your bike and it's at level 3 or 4, that is the most interference that the computer has in the power delivery. So take it all the way back to level 1. You'll have full power on your Africa Twin on level 1. Going down to the engine braking, I like it in 2. In 1, there's less engine braking. 2, there's more. 3, your wife's head will probably hit the back of your helmet when you pillion, just by tapping off the gas. So go for 2. And ABS, you have the option because you're doing user setting 1. This is for tar or for gravel, not paved roads. ABS on road. Enter, and the setting is done. And that will be your setting, as easy as that, for user 1. User 2 would be your gravel setting, as we said. So there, you also want full power. I want full power. You might want a little less. I want full power. Engine braking, I like it full because sometimes gravel turns just appear and you need all the braking you can. And then ABS on off-road. The previous one was an on-road. This one you switch to off-road. And it's done. Thank you very much. User setting 1 and 2. So what happens when you're going to your rider information? Again, user setting 1 on the fly. Now, you can choose by holding in the enter button. You hold the enter button and there you can now change the traction control or the wheelie control. So up or down. So you can change that to any level of 7 levels, both of them. But I like to keep it on 1 and 1. 1 traction and 1. Again, the less the amount, the less the interference. So very little interference on traction control, very little on wheelie control. If you want to change the G, don't. It only works, it's only functional on gravel. Let's be honest about it. Because G on this bike just changes the twitch. It just takes away the twitch on the throttle. You know, getting corrugations, you go, that's all G does. That's it, what it does. Then ABS will obviously be, like you said, the road version. Going back to number 2 now, which will be the one that's on the gravel, which we put for that, you'll see it's ABS, the off-road gravel ABS is on. What you can do by holding this in, and this you can't do on the fly, you can only do this while stopping. You can only change the ABS settings while stationary on the Africa Twin. Hold it in, I immediately go to cancel. Are you sure you want to cancel the ABS? I say yes. This is me, yours might change. I go down to traction control, I keep it left. Hold it in, it goes to 0. I go down 1, wheelie control, hold it in to the left, hold it in, it goes to 0. Right? And that's it. And that you can do on the fly. The traction control and the wheelie control you do on the fly. So you've got 2 settings, one for tar, one for gravel, set them to your liking. On the fly, you can change the traction control and wheelie control. When you hit the gravel, please make sure you're in the preferred setting that you like it in. As easy as that. And that will change your life with this over intricate, hectic, sensitive electronics on this bike.
Can we talk about what we pack in like panniers and what do we normally carry with us? Because normally we camp and we wild camp and we...
All of this will determine your luggage system. What system you're going to put on your bike for the trip. If it's just loose tank bag at the top, top box type of loose top box thing, or if it's actually side panniers and a top bag strapped onto that with whatever.
We both use soft luggage systems. Why? Why do we use soft
because
luggage?
we fall a lot. and I mean, if you fall on hard pannier aluminium cases, it's one drop and it's 14,000 Rand. So we use, you notice this one is rather done. That's why we made these so cheap and nasty, so they can fall and take the knocks. That's why we use soft luggage. Riemann says, take your sleeping bag, take it out of this pouch.
Yeah.
And just after you finished packing your pannier bag, just squeeze that into the sides, which is great advice.
Yeah.
Just make sure your pannier bag is waterproof.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to sleep wet. A little camping stretcher, a bike camping stretcher will really help you.
Yes.
It keeps the scorpions away from you. That's all it is. It's just this high. So with that, sometimes you don't even need a sleeping bag because it's hot in the desert.
Yeah.
And we never take pillows along. Use a bag like this. There's one here. Stuff a jacket or some pants in there. That's your pillow. Obviously, you're going to probably need a chair. If you need a chair, there are chairs like this in the market that are very small. Just don't jump on them. Say you think it might rain. Take a 2x3 meter top. Cut some pieces of rope and tie it to the corners of that top. And you literally hook it on the side of the bike like this. One here and one here. And you just put some rocks there at the bottom. And you have basically cover for if it rains, you can sleep wild camp next to your bike. So then there are other options. Camping with a tent.
Yes. And this is a perfect example of one man tent that you can pitch. On our trips, I've done this often. One night I will sleep in the tent on the ground, and other night I will sleep on the stretcher without a tent.
But you're packing all of them.
But to pitch and to break it down every day is a lot of mission. So depending on the day, I see how I feel.
The idea is use whatever you pack. This is a great mattress. It's a blow-up mattress. It does it by itself. Some people will call them the deflatable mattress. They last about 2-3 nights, and then you puncture them on a thorn, and then they deflate.
I've seen people roll out their stretcher on the ground, just a little sail key
without pitching
it, and then sleeping on that.
And that's lovely.
In their full kit, by the way. I've also
with
seen
knee
people sleeping with their knee braces on.
This, by the way, is a hammock.
Awesome. Absolutely
very,
awesome.
very easy to pack. It's a great option if you know you're staying over where there's a lot of trees in the area. You don't have to take the biggest, most expensive hammock. How easy is that to sleep in? And it's a bed.
Yeah.
And there's some ropes in there as well.
Everything.
Don't go too hectic. I mean, you basically need this and a sleeping bag. We found that this is a little braai grill. More fire lighters, a stand, some braai tongs, pepper, salt, all the little things for braai. This is rather nice. Buy a little small hiking canister. You don't need a varkpan or anything, just that. And inside there, the gas canister fits in there.
Perfect.
It works lovely, no problem. It works perfectly. It's all you need. You can, if you want to do coffee between you and me, look at that. It literally hangs on, and there's a cup as well. So try this. Just buy a bag of plain filter coffee, and you pour it in there.
Perfect.
Throw it in there, and you just stay with the easy stuff. It works every single time. Don't overdo it. Please remember this. First aid kit.
Yeah, because we need that.
You need that. The painkillers.
Yes.
Painkillers. We need the painkillers. Relax with the outfits. Take a little Ziploc bag of washing powder.
Yeah.
Wash your stuff.
We've learned over the years that less is more.
Les is more. I don't know who Les is, but he's on the trip constantly. So, that's the basics of packing. So all bikes have different tools. For instance, KTM's have hex.
Yes.
BMW has hex.
And some are mixed.
Some are mixed.
So you have to have both.
Both sets. So make sure your bike has the right set, and so you know what it is.
Know what you are going to need on your bike.
On your bike. This is just basics for me on the Africa Twin. This is what most Japanese bikes are just metric, ordinary metric. So the usual stuff, spanners, and a smaller screwdriver, because sometimes there is a little something that you need to use. Then when it comes to Allen keys, you'll see a full set of metric Allen keys, but a couple of them have been removed because there are certain sizes that you don't use on the bike. Find out. You don't need to carry the extra weight.
That's the secret to success here is don't take everything with you if you're never going to use it.
A socket wrench, but these are the basics. That's it. That's all you need for the Africa Twin. A couple of interesting things that I carry. This is cables, spare cables. I've opened it once to check that it's actually there, and then I closed it. So these are spare cables. If a brake cable fails or whatever, it's like general cables. This is for repairing a tire. It hooks into there, and you can actually break the bead.
Yeah.
And then obviously patches and the like, and epoxy, metal epoxy. Take metal epoxy with you on your trip. You'll never know when you're going to use it.
Especially for engine casings.
Engine casings, crack and sump, that kind of thing. Lots of dishwashing liquid.
This has saved us a lot.
Plenty.
Because you're the guy that always has enough of this.
Yeah. If you're struggling with a bead, 99% of the time you're not using enough dishwashing liquid. And then just a pack of kind of bolts and nuts and arbitrary washers and grommets. If you don't use bombs, a lot of people use the bombs.
Yeah.
You know, the bomb, the little canister.
And here's something that's important for us is that not all of us will take a compressor.
No. Find out who has one.
Let's have one and one more for a backup. Mm-hmm. And that's all.
That's all. That's all you need.
We don't have 20 compressors on the trip.
Some run with Hella plugs, which is the smaller one, and some run with the pump.
Straps.
I always carry a toe strap with me. You'll notice this is orange.
Yeah, because normally we jumpstart orange bikes with it.
Yeah,
and tow orange
Adrian's bike. This is specifically for Adrian. There's a little something that I've started to do, and it
Very
works.
important tip this. I've had 2 brand new tubes in boxes that I had in my backpack on the bike, and both of those I had to throw away because with all the vibration and years of riding that I didn't use them, they chafed and they were actually damaged, and I threw away 2 brand new tubes.
So
That's a nice tip. I like doing that now.
take one of those old tubes of yours, the one that you're taking out of the bike, and cut it, like a piece off, and you take the new tube, fold it nice and tight, squeeze it into that old tube that you don't use anymore, and then duct tape it.
Yeah.
And you have this. This is a front tube, an entire front tube for a 21-inch bike. So you can even cable tie this to the side of a luggage rack on your bike, and it's practical. Cable tie it there if you want to. If you don't have space to pack it, cable tie it to something.
Now, just an interesting note here.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing the trip with a bike that's tubeless, but you are taking tubes with.
Taking tubes with. The reason I'm taking a tube is you never know what happens. Sometimes rims have offset valve placing.
yeah.
This one has a center placing. So what you can do with this one, if you get a tear in the sidewall
Yeah.
of a tubeless tire, you can break the bead off that and put a tube in it, and then actually break the valve
Yeah.
off out of the rim, because it is sealed with epoxy as well.
Yeah.
And get that valve off, and then put an entire tube in, a tubeless system. What you should do is just maybe take some duct tape and duck the inside of the rim, just in case something scratches it.
And if you have a tire pressure monitor system, those normally screw out.
They screw out.
And then you have the center hole that you can put the tube valve through. Important to know what tool to use to take the tire pressure monitor system out, because you don't want to damage that, because that is hell of an expensive.
It's a bit of an expensive excursion, yeah. And then obviously snot worms, you know, the ordinary plug for tubeless, that kind of thing. With that, you should be fine. There are other things like a chain breaker.
Yeah, that is something that we normally don't carry with us.
I have one here, but I don't take it along. And a master link.
Touch wood, we've never
had to fit a master link and break the chain. But the thing is, with a chain breaker, you have to carry a file at least.
Yeah.
Or a grinder is preferable. Who has space for that? But a file, at least a hand file, to file out this entire pin. And then you can use the chain breaker to push it through and push the master link back in, and then you can actually fix a broken chain out on the road. I have done it before. It saved my ass once, not mine, a fellow rider's ass. But that's the thing. Don't be scared to buy tools that other people can use. To find out who is the strongest in what, and help each other out. Obviously,
that's also an important note, right? We take Adrian with. He's a mechanical guy.
yeah, he's mechanical.
So if
basically.
something happens, because he's got lots of experience in.
He's a good chase bike rider.
Fixing bikes and stuff like that. So that's why we normally invite him.
Yeah, and he's eager.
Yeah.
He doesn't have friends.
Yeah.
We're the only ones.
Early in the morning in Pretoria, we are meeting at a place called Die Padstal, which is, well, an Afrikaans word for the road stall. Here we are. We are early, so we can manage all of this. And naturally, Frans and Armani, our new cameraman for this series.
Yeah, waiting for everyone here at a place called Padstal. Have a bit of a brekkie and a meet and greet, and then we hit the road.
Pretty soon, everyone starts arriving, and we offer to load all the big luggage bags into our backup vehicle. No need to ride this trip with a heavily laden bike. Most riders gladly take up the offer. We chose this establishment as a starting point as we regularly frequent the premises, especially during our very official Friday afternoon impromptu Footpeg board meetings.
Welcome to Sidetracked, and thank you for joining us. Like, this is going to be about 3,500 kilometers of touring at first. A little bit of technical stuff in the Cederberg, but so you'll be able to do it. Thank you so much for joining us. Fani organized all of it.
The way that I organize these trips is I have a peer.
We had a pub lunch and someone said, okay, let's do it. Someone said he wants to go along. And then I said, but we need to do a social ride with our friends, with our Footpeg friends. We want to ride with you guys, because we always ride in Gatsonderrand, difficult places, but we want to ride with our friends, our social media buddies and that. So let's go to the Cederberg. And then Rian from Honda South Africa said, but can we get involved as well? Because he wants to go there as well. And if it wasn't for Rian, then we couldn't have made a production of this for the Footpeg Diaries channel. So thank you, Honda South Africa, for helping us out with that. You all know Rian. Rian is obviously very corporate, and you can't really speak to him. And he's introvert. Can't really ride a bike. You know, he's a very typical corporate guy, but you'll get to know him a little better during this trip. Right, the Footpeg crew. Armani is at the back. Armani is our brand new cameraman. You all know Frans. Frans, yeah? Nee, Frans? Dankie. Frans.
Also our father.
Pa. And then Adrian isn't part of the Footpeg crew as such, although he's on the WhatsApp group, the crew WhatsApp group. Adrian is, I don't know how Adrian managed it. He's never sponsored the Footpeg group. He's never done anything. He's paid for himself, but he's always there. And we eventually mounted a camera on him. So now he's working for us. So Adrian, welcome, right? Then Fonny, you know Fonny and you know me. No. Mujaki, by the way, is from Honda. He's the Honda South Africa ambassador.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks for joining us. I think it's going to be a really, really great trip. Dankie vir Fonny and for Pierre for organizing all of this. And Adrian unofficially. So yeah, let's enjoy it, have fun. And like Pierre said, you know, it's not a race, it's not anything else. If you battle, somebody will help you. And don't worry about the Cederberg. It's the Cederberg. Enjoy it, guys.
The planned route for today flips through Potch in the Northwest Province before crossing over into the Free State's maize country on the long roads between Bothaville, Whipstad, Hertzogville and Boshoff, to only jump back into the Northern Cape Province at our overnight stop in Kimberley. Getting out of a big, densely populated metropolitan province like Gauteng is an adventure in itself. If you really want to get out as quickly as possible, you're gonna have to hit the highway. We planned our commute just after the morning rush hour, so the freeway is relatively calm. We're just stopping to have a quick stretch. The older men are going to the lavatory. The younger ones are just standing around. The first, say, 100 Ks, people suss each other out. You know, people need to sort out their riding styles. Straight off the bat now we've realized there's a rather varying degree of rider's ability. But that's okay, because everybody rides. Like everybody rides as long as you ride. Now, we're off the main highway, the dual carriageway. And now we're on the little busy single lane with lots of trucks. Going towards the metropolis of Ventersdorp. We plan to travel huge distances on this adventure, and to achieve that, we're forced to do some extensive tar road traveling on the first and last day of the tour. Today is going to be a very long and boring liaison, but we find ways to amuse ourselves and keep the group's spirits up. Personally, I believe that adventure riding is the perfect pastime for those adults who can't sit still for more than 10 minutes. You know? The attention-strained guys. Like me, who constantly needs to be busy, shifting their weight, lifting front wheels over dongas, and every so often dodging a striking snake, chasing lion or speeding forestry truck. That's why it's such torture riding endless main tarred roads like this the entire day. We eventually reach Potchefstroom and our first fuel stop for the day. After a quick splash and dash, we first get lost in the side streets of Potch, before eventually finding the road out of town towards the watering hole at Scandinavia Drift. Time for just one cold beer before we invade the Free State. It's also a great opportunity for all the riders in the group to get to know each other a little better. Remember, until about 2 hours ago, most of these guys were total strangers. Slowly but surely, the segmented groups of friends start socializing with other groups. And by the time we head back out again, the riding formation changes slightly, as some guys are now comfortable enough to leave their buddies and ride next to another new friend. The bridge over the Vaal River at Scandinavia Drift was built next to a shallow crossing where ox wagons used to forge their way through the river transporting cargo in olden days. The crossing point in the drift can still be seen from the bridge. And with that, we're across the river and into the open expanses of the Free State. These seemingly endless tar roads turned out to be ideal for Dave on his new 2024 Africa Twin Adventure Sport with a smaller 19-inch front wheel. I'm interested to see if it still has what it takes when we really hit the dirt tomorrow. Near the town of Viljoenskroon, we effortlessly ride through a traffic police checkpoint without giving a second thought to the backup vehicle that's hot on our heels. It's sure to be a lovely target for a traffic cop, heavily laden and pulling a trailer. The fact that it looks like a delivery van doesn't help either.
So France and I are trailing behind the rest of the group of riders in the support vehicle, and we're currently stuck on the side of the road experiencing some technical difficulties. So they're probably almost to Hoopstad, and we're stuck here at a roadblock, and we're gonna be a while before we catch up. So hurry up and wait.
The riders were also experiencing some technical difficulties. A disappearing tar road. This has a uniquely South African solution. Just speed up and race straight over the pothole. Luckily, the support vehicle also applied a uniquely South African and refreshing solution to their traffic cop problem. And we're now well on their way to joining us for lunch in the town of Hoopstad.
Oh, this last bit was lekker. Huh?
Hi, how are you? Alright, nice meeting you. I'm Zulu. Are you Zulu? Yeah, Sotho. Yes.
Zulu, a local farmer and one of our good Footpeg Facebook friends, heard that we were in town and promptly dropped everything on the farm to enjoy a beer and a hamburger with us.
Too much tar.
Too much time, eh?
You've been falling asleep.
With the potholes.
Yeah.
It was at least some entertainment.
It woke us up.
Yes.
You had to concentrate. But otherwise, if it wasn't because of that, I think I would have fallen asleep.
For sure.
Zulu wouldn't allow us to leave unless we all allowed him to pay for our lunch. Ah, what a nice guy. We made our last fuel stop for the day and then attacked the remaining 150 kilometers to our overnight stop, excited by the prospect of riding a little bit of gravel before we get to the town of Boshoff. We were leaving the district of Hoopstad, known as the most bountiful maize area in the country. And it isn't a surprise to see farm upon farm with freshly ploughed fields awaiting the first good rains of the summer. The gravel turns out to be sandier than most guys anticipated. And when Hein hits a sandy bank, we have our first little spill. Thankfully, without an injury or damage to his bike. The sandy patches are very misleading in the late afternoon light. Barely noticeable, but deep enough to induce a spine-chilling wobble at speed. And it immediately had me worried about everyone else in our group. The worries started to subside as my new bright red Africa twin took the sandy patches in its stride, comfortably ticking off the dusty kilos, and I was really beginning to enjoy this first bit of gravel for the trip. We were following Hein as the whole group was now riding ahead of us. A couple of minutes down the road, Hein stopped again, and we decided to transfer his heavy luggage to the support vehicle, making it easier for him to ride through the sand.
Kom ons laai daai sakke oor. Ons is nou weer rou hier. Ja.
Hallo? Yes.
Hoorie, dis 'n berge regte papier jacket baie hard neergeval gekom. Ons is so 10 km op die grondpad buite Boshoff.
Hoe lyk hy? Het hy seer gekry?
Nee, hy gaan nie kan ry nie.
Hy nie kan ry nie.
Nee, hy sê nie ry. Dit fiets is op kompleet.
Alright, nou maar mooi, ons is agter hom met die bakkie die sleepwa. Ons laai net gou-gou Hein se goed in die kar en dan kom ons.
Okay, moet ons ons gaan maar ambulans kry vir hom. Wat dink jy?
Is Adrian daar naby?
Adrian nee. Ek dink hy kom my nou terug.
Okay, laat hy die call maak, laat hy my bel, ek staan by.
Okay.
Alright, bye. Ja, het skip niks het wit geval te sien.
Ek sê Paul.
I'm not sure they say I don't know who it was, but when they found him, he was knocked out. So first stretch gravel, first stretch.
Join us again for the next episode in our series as we attempt to mend everything mechanical and medical and experience the magical and expansive Karoo. This episode was made possible by Honda, the power of dreams, Liat, the science of thrill, Insta360, magic in action, and Cameras for all things photo and video.